Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speakeasy Reacts channel. Today is our weekly news and trending topic video. This week we'll be covering a couple things, some things going on around the U.S., as well as some interesting stuff going on in tech and in the entertainment industry, it seems. So let's go ahead and let's get right into it. Okay, and today we're starting off with Hurricane Helene. As some of you may know, those affected in the Gulf region, or those of you in the Gulf region, like myself, is from originally, it's hurricane season. Hurricanes kind of pop up, come and go, that sort of thing, all the time. This one is a particularly high strength one. It looks like Hurricane Helene ended up making landfall a couple hours ago at a Category 4, which is pretty extreme, considering the categories only go up to Category 5. Don't have any estimates so far on the damages or anything like that. I'm sure things will get worse, and we'll get reports about everything kind of earlier in the morning, a little bit later today. And so by the time this video hits, there'll probably be some better updates. If there's anything important or relevance that comes up from it, we'll go ahead and make sure we report it next week. We'll move on to the next one. Alrighty, up next, here you can see we have New York City Mayor Eric Adams is indicted on charge of taking bribes and illegal campaign funds from foreign sources. So this is by Associated Press, usually pretty solid press work. There seems to be a lot of different timeline updates as things happened, and there's quite a bit that happened today. Insane. So let's see. And today's October 10th. Apparently he says he's not going to resign during a press conference. Ah, say the press conference. Gotcha. I have to drink my nice mixed drink here. Good bourbon and amaretto with Dr. Pepper, by the way. Tasty. Mm. Daddy's had a rough day and needs his liquor. I will say, just a kind of random offshoot, off tangent. Um, Man, return policies sometimes suck. Also, don't buy a Samsung 95C or any of the Samsung OLEDs with the One Connect box. All I see are bad things. I had one that didn't know the HDMI ports worked, had to take it back. It was a whole issue. That's why I'm trying to kind of run through this episode as quickly as possible so I can edit it as quickly as possible and get it uploaded. So we're going to carry on. Let's see. The prosecutor says Adams violated public trust. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams says Adams engaged in, quote, long-running, unquote, corruption involving bribes from foreign nationals dating back nearly a decade. Williams also said the investigation continues and more people, quote, will be held accountable, unquote. Okay. The indictment caps off an extraordinary few weeks in New York City as federal investigators have honed in on members of Adams' inner circle, producing a drumbeat of raids, subpoenas, and high-level resignations. Interesting. Sounds pretty major for New York City. Hope that means things get better for those of you living in New York City. Apparently, his lawyer said that he wanted to turn himself in today, or yesterday, rather. But he's now hoping to appear in court, I guess, today or Monday. Interesting. So we'll see how that works. Officials are reviewing. I'm trying to see if there's anything of substance yet. Apparently can't work in class childhood. Interesting. Push back the administrator's efforts. Oh yeah, this is something that I believe Trump brought up. That this guy was going to get indicted. I believe it's like a year ago or something like that, due to his connections with something. I'm gonna have to look deeper into that. It doesn't seem to be a lot of information so far. It's just news on the indictments. What's going to happen is they're going to go ahead and do an investigation. I'm sure if the indictment or allegations are true, things will come to light in the investigation. We'll have more information as we can get it. We'll go ahead and cover it as well when it happens. Again, maybe also, if we hear early enough within next week, cover it next week. No, it'll be sometime later in the future whenever he actually goes to trial and we get to see the trial notes and things like that. But until then, this is all we got. Hope the people of New York City, that this is a positive change for you guys. If this comes out to be true and the accusations are true, or it comes out to be factual, then good on them for taking this dude down. If not, if it's like a political theater sort of thing, that's unfortunate, and I would hope he's able to countersue if that is the case. But that's all I got for this. Carry on to the next one. Alrighty, here we have a quick update to something that we didn't cover here. Oh, jeez, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we did cover this. I don't remember if we ever covered COVID stuff. Probably. Man, it's been a while. COVID's been long running, hasn't it? Kind of crazy to think about. But anyway, here we have the USPS.com pulled up for frequently asked questions about COVID-19 home tests. Why, you may ask? Well, because COVID-19 tests, the free COVID-19 tests provided by the U.S. government are back. They, you see here, beginning yesterday. Beginning yesterday, you'll be able to place another order for free at-home COVID tests, and shipping will begin at the end of the month. So, if you're not familiar with this, the U.S. government was providing free at-home COVID tests, up to 4 to anyone that requested them. I don't remember if I requested some. I probably did. My family did. There were multiple members of the family. Anybody should. They're nice to have on hand. I don't know. I know they have shelf lives. I'm not quite familiar. Excuse me. Sorry, not quite familiar with what their shelf life is. However, it's nice to have, so you don't have to spend like $20. What was it, 50? Man, it's been a while. Oh, look it up real quick. Let's see. COVID. Odd. In the middle of that, my recording just decided to cut off. Kind of weird. Not sure what happened there. But anyway, we were looking at COVID-19 tests. I just want to see. Yes. No. No cost COVID test. There's no cost COVID test. Interesting. I don't want these sponsored ads. There we go. I'm not seeing anything. Whatever, we'll take the Amazon link. How bad can it be? These look like generic tests. Oh, 5 tests. Interesting. Yeah, see, $30 for these. And apparently, they also have flu test. 3-in-1 antigen rapid test, 15 minutes. Interesting. Not sure how good these eye health tests are, although they're the #1 bestseller in clinical diagnostic test kits. That's a bold claim, but I guess they're good for a lot of tests. I think I did this Binax Now one. It's still $30. That's what I took whenever I ended up testing myself for COVID when I ended up having it. It was positive, unfortunately. But yeah, free COVID test. If you're ever interested, always nice. Nothing negative there. As you see all the weird audio equipment in my sidebar stuff I was looking at. Funny, because I don't need any of that. I have my microphone here. Funny. But yeah. So, always, if it's free, go ahead, sign up, sign in. Get you some sent out to you. No cost to you. It's just worth it. If you have, if you're working a job where you go out and see a lot of people, or you work in places where everyone else seems to get sick with COVID, or you have a lot of contact with people where you work. It's always nice to have, especially, whenever you get out of work. So if your work, I believe, as one of the COVID relief things, work has to let you out for however many days it is. I don't know what the CDC recommendation is. I think it's at least 2. You get at least 2 days off nowadays, I think. Minimum. They might have released that. I don't know. But, yeah. get some free tests, figure out if you get COVID or not, if you feel sick. You know, the only problem was it's flu-like symptoms and cold-like symptoms. I mean, it's basically the same. If you've had it before, and you know it, or you should. Some people don't. It's really hard to differentiate the differences between COVID and anything else, which is why it was such a problem. But yeah, that's all we got for this, and on to the next one. All right. Not sure how aware people are of different things going on, but Netflix has a, I guess, kind of documentary Netflix story type thing going on with the talking about the Lyle and Eric Menendez case. Man, this is before even my time. This is their trials in 1989 for the shocking murders of their parents, and they were convicted in 1996. Ooh, that's a couple years after I was born. But yeah, the show is called Monsters, or I guess that's what the show is. It's called Monsters: The Lyle and Eric Menendez Story. Apparently, there's some issues. This has come up a couple different times. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the show. So I couldn't speak to it myself. Let's go ahead and roll the video and see what all's going on here. We'll go ahead and talk about it.
Zay, take a look.
Not only am I destined for Princeton, I, Joseph Lyle Menendez, am destined for greatness.
Wow.
Lyle's excellent. A really good sweetheart.
It's really good, Lyle. Thank you.
Hold on. Are you talking to him or me? Because I wrote that. I mean, his essay was like, that's how you get into Princeton. That's an essay.
Dad, isn't that...
What, cheating? I'm gonna tell you a secret, okay? Everybody cheats in this world.
Javier, Cooper, Nicholas, good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. Let me start with you. You're the executive producer on this project, and the first season of this monster anthology series was about serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, which, as you know, got a lot of attention. So now we're looking at the Menendez brothers. Why did you decide?
Okay, interesting. So this is just a Netflix series about, I guess, famous cases, famous killers, famous things. Okay, I remembered something about it when the Dahmer stuff came out. All right, anyway, let's continue this.
To take this on?
Many things. First of all, because it's Ryan Murphy, which I had the chance to work with back in the year 2009 in Eat, Pray, Love, the movie that we did together. So I knew how great of a person and loving guy he is. And then I didn't know about the story because he was not that popular in Spain. And once I dig in, I was like, wow, this is very heavy stuff, but very important to talk about. I mean, the idea of open a discussion about abuse on childhood, it's an important issue to deal with.
Last week, as you probably know, Eric Menendez released this statement through his wife on her social media account, saying that he was disappointed with the depiction of Lyle in particular, saying in part, Netflix's dishonest portrayal of the tragedies surrounding our crime have taken the painful truth several steps backward to an era when the prosecution built a narrative on a belief system that males were not sexually abused. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight on Monday, the series co-creator Ryan Murphy, he said that it was interesting that Eric issued this statement without actually having seen the show, but that a great deal of the show centers around the abuse and what they claim happened to them, and we do it very carefully, and we give them their day in court. That's from Ryan Murphy. You play Eric Menendez. You got a phone call from the night before the series premiered, as we understand. What did he say?
You know, we had a really nice conversation, and I got to basically just tell him that I believe him, and I did everything that I could in my power as an actor to portray him as accurately and as authentically as possible. And to his statement, you know, I understand how he feels, and I get that it's so difficult to, you know, have your life, and not even just your life, but the worst part of your life be televised in a sort of dramatized Hollywood TV version of it. So I just get how difficult that would be, and you know, I stand with him, and I understand, and it must be really hard. We
should also mention that we did reach out to Ryan Murphy as well for our own comment, but we did not hear back. You, this past weekend, as I understand it, you actually visited the correctional facility where Eric and Lyle are serving their time. What can you tell us about that meeting?
I mean, thanks to Kim Kardashian and Scott Budnick, they were going down for this meeting to hear about this green space project that Lyle and Eric are spearheading, basically to help make prisons more of a college campus environment. That's actually how they do it in Norway. And it just helps to establish more rehabilitation. And so, yeah, Kim called me and then invited me to go down. And, of course, I said yes. And basically we went into this gymnasium and sat with 30 or so incarcerated individuals. And they basically all shared their stories. It was very emotional. And they were all so vulnerable and so kind. And I got to meet Eric and Lyle. And
so interesting.
Yeah.
So what about for you, Nicholas? Do you hope to connect with Lyle one day?
You know, it's interesting. You take on these jobs as an actor, and then I think a big part of that job, at least for myself, is letting it go gracefully and then moving on to the next thing.
What is, I mean, for both of you, you weren't even born when this happened. So, Nicholas, when you research something like this, and there's a certain, I guess, responsibility almost in a way to try to be honest about a portrayal, what's the process that you go through?
Sure. Your performance sits at the nexus of a great many things. First and foremost, it is the research that you do, which should be extensive. You feel an obligation to do so, playing a real character, but then you're also assimilating the creative desires of directors as well as showrunners. So it's a complicated and multifaceted process.
Wow. You guys are all fantastic in the series. Whatever your feelings are about the actual series, the acting is phenomenal. So,
Thank you.
Javier, Cooper, Nicholas, thank you guys so much. Everybody's watching it. Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story. It's out on Netflix right now.
Interesting. I love the the kind of dichotomy here. You know, this guy seems to get really into it. Want to know and talking first about the character. And this guy, not saying he doesn't do the the same thing like research and all that, but wants to do the proper acting thing of just once he's done, just kind of get away from it. This guy seems to be looking into it a lot more. I'm not familiar with what they're trying to tell in the story or how things played out. I'm not very familiar with the case to know or to talk, comment specifically like that. But yeah, it seems like this person's more invested in it, and in some way, shape, or form. It's kind of funny they brought up that like Cam or somebody else invited them out to go talk to them about the green space thing. It's a cool idea. Norway does have kind of nicer prisons. People make jokes about wanting to go commit crime in Norway, like and get a life sentence because it looks pretty chill and cozy. And some of the other European countries do have some pretty nice looking, prisons. Prison there isn't like what it is here. With the, essentially slave labor and all that. And, that's something me and my buddy of my co-host have covered before. I really need to go through and probably upload or re-upload a lot of those. We used to do news talk shows all the time. I probably need to go through and grab those videos and kind of to re-upload them to probably a news channel to archive kind of our old stuff. But yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting to see kind of the way they think, the way they're talking about this, and the way they're handling it. I've never seen the series, but I remember when the Dahmer part came out that the internet started getting people started getting weird about Dahmer, the kind of horror movie and the horror. The crime obsessed and type people, kind of similar with the people like you. Even though I watched you was pretty good. And Dexter, things like that. But yeah, people were, rocking the Dahmer shades. People were talking about the Dahmer look. I remember so many memes about it. I think I've still seen some Dahmer memes like not even a couple months ago. So it's interesting. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those things. The people it affected. Eric Menendez is saying that they're bastardizing the portrayal due to some of these different things. This one specifically talks about, I guess they're hinting at an incestuous relationship between Lyle and Eric. Again, I'm not familiar with the case, not familiar with the whole story, and definitely not familiar with the show to back up or substantiate these claims, with my own opinion. But yeah, there it is. There's his whole letter right there. Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. Definitely an interesting take. Whatever. Also, I'm just surprised. Whatever, I guess, version of prison these guys are in. Seems to be kind of on the lower end as far as security goes. Because I mean, these guys walked in there, talked to them, hung out and had conversation with all these people. They're trying to get green spaces in there. It sounds like an interesting, kind of nicer prison. I'm gonna, again, without looking at knowledge on this, I'm gonna estimate that it says federal, some sort of federal penitentiary, instead of like a state or local one. But all right, that's enough about that. Let's get into the next one. Alrighty, on the next one here, we've got Meta unveils cheaper VR headset, AI updates, and shows off prototype for holographic AR glasses. We're gonna go ahead and run this clip here, and we'll get into it. What is going on? I'm trying to drag the play bar, and it's trying to drag the whole window. I'm not on a I'm not on a mobile device. Anyway, it looks like we have the Meta Quest 3S. There's been talk about this for a few months. About personal anecdotes of VR and getting off track here. Try to get back on track, and let's roll the video.
This is the new Meta Quest 3S. High quality mixed reality for $299.
I just want to bring up something. It's really funny, his clothing. I don't know, it just gets me. He's just like all black, wearing his shirt and pants with his white shoes. He looks like, I don't know. He just looks dressed funny, like he's dressed to look like a young dude. I don't really know.
9.
It's one of those things that really hasn't taken off, and I don't think that in the near future it's going to, because the truth is, it's still we thought that there would be B2B use cases for virtual reality with training and simulations. It just hasn't taken off in that way. And I think one of the things is that wearing a giant headset is a visual barrier to entry to a lot of people. And I think by lowering the price, they're going to increase their market.
What he means is, you look like a fucking dweeb. Nah, don't listen to that. Be yourself, do yourself, enjoy your thing. But no, it's definitely a thing. Like looking like you're in VR and like looking, silly is definitely a part of it.
Get shared amongst gamers and people that are already into virtual reality as a pastime. I don't think it's going to help them move the needle in terms of crossing over to other use cases.
So today we are dropping a limited edition of clear, transparent frames.
I never thought we'd really see the day where connected glasses looked cool, but Meta's Ray-Ban glasses do look cool. They're unintrusive. You would never think that they were anything other than just regular glasses, and they.
What's funny about these Ray-Ban glasses, seeing those pictures, reminds me, I'm not sure if everybody else experienced this like a year or two ago, maybe 3 or 4, but there used to be all these fucking Ray-Ban ads or fake Ray-Ban ads. I don't even know if they're fake because I wouldn't, wasn't dumb enough to buy them and try them or give them my credit card information to these places. But they were like Ray-Bans that had like cameras and shit in them, for spying on people or whatever. Like, I don't even know what the whole point was. But yeah, like those images just remind me of all those images existed. And specifically, since we're talking about Meta, those are on Facebook. Those are on my Facebook all the time. I don't even know why. It's crazy. Cool.
They can do some really awesome things. A big one that struck out to me was real-time translation.
How are you doing? Are you getting ready for your next fight?
¿Estás preparando para tu próxima pelea?
Sí, estoy listo.
Awesome.
Yes, I am ready.
He already said it.
This is Orion, our first fully functioning prototype, and if I do say so, the most advanced glasses the world has ever seen. This is the physical world with holograms overlaid on it.
It looks cool, which is nice, and it's a good thing to have at a demo day at a big conference. And certainly people like me aren't beyond being wowed by flashes of brilliance like that. But can it be repeatable? Can it be something that lives in your everyday life? It remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big, proponent of VR. I think VR is cool. Plenty of VR games are amazing. VR's definitely just gotten better again with finger tracking. Um, I believe some of these headsets, if I'm not mistaken, may have eye tracking built in or will have eye tracking in the future, or it's a software update or something like that. I don't have eye tracking. Um, my only thing personally is against Meta as a business. They have the cheaper versions, the cheaper options of the Quest, so that a lot of them are ad included, and like they definitely use you to collect your data and things like that. Um, kind of, I don't like a lot of their business practices. But what I will say is they're lowering the barrier of entry into VR. And back to my anecdotal experience of VR chat and things like that. VR chat's one of the biggest VR kind of communication and social platforms, and I mean, it's huge. In fact, I saw a shift the first couple times I got on it was a lot of like Valve, Vive players and stuff like that. But now, like anytime I join it, within the last year and a half, it's just mostly Quest users because the Quest has come down, especially with Quest 2 being able to play VR chat and having the freedom of everything. Since Quest 3 came out, the Quest 2's even went lower in price. But there was a Quest 2 version that was severely limited as far as, I think it was space constraints and everything. Maybe, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken there. I'm not quite sure. But there was something that people were telling me about it in VR chat where it was cheaper because of something. Something was dumbed down for it. And I believe you had like more intrusive kind of Facebook stuff. Like I think you had like there was a possibility for ads, or there was ads. Like they lowered the barrier to entry to like $200 or something ridiculous like that. With some caveats that made it worse. But like for the normal user that just wants to get in and play some games or mess around with it, it made sense. And it's like a cheap alternative. It's a cheap kind of toy you can give to kids. Well, I say cheap. $200 is it's not cheap, but when comparing to an Xbox One or a PS5 or what have you, the $200 Oculus, even though you have a higher chance of like doing damage, like throwing controllers and stuff, that's why you just get straps and get good straps. But like if people aren't playing with straps, they're just they let go. I don't understand. Like I guess because I've been trained to use the grippies on the Vive, so if you go from that to anything else, you'll be fine. In fact, it was backwards for me to use the fingies on the index, where you just basically because you have to like keep your hands open instead of gripping the controllers, which I was used to for so many years. But still, you have a chance for breaking stuff. The other biggest problem, punching things, punching. I would say holes. I mean, holes in walls is an option. Kicking holes in walls is an option too. As me and one of my roommate friends joke around about. What's it called? What's the one? The VR game where you are basically fighting all the time. The wave shooter, but it's fighting, medieval fighting. I can't remember what it's called. But anybody that plays VR knows what I'm talking about. So when we get spells and swords and things, and like that one is the game. I punch a wall with my knuckle controllers doing that. First time though. Like I had a Vive for years, the regular Vive, and then I had the Vive Index, and it wasn't until I had the Index and like had more freedom with my hands and stuff and fingies that like I punched. And because normally the controller would be like through your hands like this, like it's a stick that goes through your hands, but because the Index, there's a stick that goes through the middle, but then there's like a wraparound piece that goes around your knuckles to help detect with finger tracking. That part goes out. So when I punched, I had hit the limit of my play space, which is normally fine. But it goes a little bit further, like a couple inches further, and so I socked the crap out of the wall. Thankfully, didn't break didn't break my controllers. They're robust and tough. But I put a dent in my drywall from it. I didn't put a hole, but I definitely smacked the crap out of the wall, and like now there's like white scratches all over the Index controller where I hit that. needless to say, I fixed my boundaries after that, like pulled them back further, and like it's just hard. But yeah, that's the game where you freaking punch holes in walls. And my buddy did the same thing. That's part of the story, which is funny. But yeah, no, VR is cool. I think AR is going to be really cool. You know, when people can get glasses and be able to just mess with things like in space, kind of like in sci-fi. Um, you know, anime, media, movies, everything. The only thing that I'm worried about is like the altered carbon future, which is probably the more correct future, unfortunately, honestly. And same thing with Blade Runner, where like there's 3D ads everywhere. You know, as we're interconnected to the internet and things like that, especially with the altered carbon way, and like they're just intrusive and they suck. Which you know, that's the concern. The concern is you know with Meta, that Meta is trying to be, was it IWI or INI from Ready Player One? If you're familiar with the you know references there, where all they wanted to do was sell ads to people. You know, make they wanted to win the internet or the universe, the basically the metaverse there, which is why the metaverse started and existed. Which the metaverse is kind of a flop, and I'm kind of glad it is, because again, I don't want Meta to run, you know, the giant internet VR platform for communication. I like the Ready Player One version where it was just some dudes who were like gung ho about it that created it, and then it was essentially free. You know, don't like the whole Willy Wonka giveaway part, but the you know made for a good movie, makes for a good story. Um, but yeah, it'd be cool. You know, I would personally like it if there was like a cool VR space to hang out with people and like have an avatar that can go through like a universe like GTA 5 for example, but like as a hub world, you know, and everyone's free to go fuck around and run around and do what they want, and then like you could jump into other games to the hub world, you know, kind of like sci-fi has portrayed it with you know, all sorts of different things, kind of similar to like the Johnny Mnemonic way of showing the internet, or I mean, I can't even remember all the sci-fi stuff, but there's been so many different sci-fi movies and things that show the internet in interesting ways. It would be kind of cool, but with nobody managing them, like it would be hard. And also, if any one company owned it, you know, especially with the way a lot of the big companies are, especially tech companies, you know, if the product is free, you are the product. And it's your data, and your data goes to everyone, everything, for every reason. And your data is really interesting and important. This would be where I'd segue to an ad for data, you know, with anti-broker company. But seriously though, I mean, it's a problem. I get spam calls all the time, probably because leaked data to data brokers or data leaked, you know, from Meta selling it to their partner, that partner selling it to their partner. I mean, it just keeps going like perpetually down the line, and like people can just buy data like it's nothing for cheap. But anyway, it's getting off track. Yeah, I think they're cool. I'm sure they're gonna be overpriced because not only is it cool AR tech, those are also Ray Bans on top of that. So like that ups the price tag quite a bit, I'm sure. Unless there's gonna be again some sort of way that Meta can bring it down by like you selling more of you know your soul to Meta or your data or you know advertisements, whatever, what have you. Other than that, I think it's cool. I can't deny, as much as I'm a Oculus hater, Meta hater, or whatever you want to, you know, however you want to say it, whatever you want to call it. They are bringing devices to the market cheaper to the masses, getting more people into VR because proper VR, semi untethered. You know, the Vive's an experience by itself, but now you got the Index, which is a better experience. I'm not sure the visual fidelity on the Oculuses, but because the Oculuses get to do the AR thing, like you saw in the representation of the video, where the guys are sitting in the stands doing a bunch of different shit, and like you can do all that stuff. That's all cool stuff too, you know. So the more people that get it, use it, I think eventually it'll become, you know, it'll turn into something good. And really, we need kind of more people get into it to get more people interested in it. I mean, you get somebody in, starts off with it, it like $200 as an 18-year-old, 16-year-old, whatever, 12-year-old, and they decide that's what they want to go into, that's what they want to develop into, that's what they want to do, or they get a crazy idea because VR's pretty new still, and I'm sure people aren't pushing things as hard as they can with the boundaries. A lot of part of that has to do with, again, the tech. The Quest, I think, probably now has one of the largest market shares due to being so cheap, and the Quest is kind of usually inferior hardware, so a lot of the games aren't visually pleasing for the Quest, like they are for the Vive. And you can't make games look as good, and I think that'll be a big difference too. Whenever games for VR can look as good as they can look now outside of VR, I think that'll be a major game changer, as well as when people get AR, and like it gets to the point where people use AR in their daily lives to make life easier. Other than those other things, it kind of reminds me of the that AI pendant thing that one dude was working on, that other guy reviewed and essentially broke it, or made that guy fail and lose his company, whatever. I don't know. Your product's bad, you deserve bad rep. But it's like this, I wear this nice smartwatch as a Garmin, and like the amount of cool stuff in it's nice. But if my glasses could, do the same thing, and help remind me of things or tell me when something's coming up, or I get turn by turn directions in my glasses instead of a HUD on my car. Because I mean, having HUDs on your car, oh dude, HUDs are a game changer too. If you ever had to drive a vehicle with a HUD, and like having a HUD just for your speed is good. But if you could, none of the HUDs I think integrate with Android Auto, which is super annoying. I wish my HUD did, because turn by turn directions, or directions on the HUD would be so nice, because they keep you focused on the road without you having to take your eyes off and like look down, or if you're a Tesla driver, look to the side. God forbid. That's one thing I hate about Tesla. So you don't have like a speedometer where it should be. You're trained all your life. I mean, if you're going to keep it digital and put it on the screen, at least put a damn HUD in there. I mean, they're like $60,000 cars, or 30 or 40. I mean, it can't cost that much more to just put a freaking screen in there that displays numbers, so you don't have to look away. Future, man, future. Anyway, and yeah, no, that's all we got for this, and that's probably about it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for catching us this week on our news and trending roll up / I guess kind of weekly show. We'll catch you next week again here, Fridays every week. By the time you wake up, hopefully, for your news, as long as you're in the U.S. and you're central, we'll try to make sure this all comes out, early morning before you get up. And please like, rate, comment, subscribe. Anything will help. Let me know how the quality is, sound is, things you like, things you don't like. Basically, just reach out. And if you got topics or things to bring up, things I miss, or information that I don't have, feel free to share it with us. It's always good to know. But until next time, we will see you guys. Peace out.